You know that feeling when you think that you're prepared for something, but then you're like, well, damn. Yeah, that was me moving back to Europe, Spain to be specific. I thought I had a solid grasp on what life here would be like. I'd lived here before for 2 years. I even had a kid here too. Beautiful historic buildings, yeah. Espresso fueled afternoons, absolutely. A vague expectation that I'd somehow become effortlessly chic just by stepping off the plane, for sure. But what I wasn't prepared for, the culture shocks. Yes, I'd lived here before, but that was almost 20 years ago. So did I get it? Yeah, kind of. Did I forget it? Absolutely. It's those tiny everyday moments that has me questioning everything. So let's talk about it. My biggest culture shocks after 2 years in Europe, but really Spain. And yes, I'm absolutely still processing some of them. In the US, if you need a restroom, you just pop into a Starbucks, a gas station, or literally any McDonald's and you can handle your business. No questions asked. Actually, from what I'm hearing, things are changing quite a bit. But here, using public restrooms often comes with a price tag. You might need to drop 50 cents or even a whole euro just to gain access to the facilities. And the first time that this happened, I was near the beach. It looked like a giant advert. I didn't realize that it was a restroom. That was until the door rotated open and somebody came out, and then there it was, the toilet. It seemed clean from where I was perched. I didn't have to go that bad, and I wasn't going to pay to investigate further. I did see toilet paper, and what I've read online is that these toilets are frequently cleaned, and that's a draw for me. In my experience, the free restrooms here generally have something missing. It could be the toilet paper, the hand soap, a working hand dryer, paper towels. I've actually been conditioned to always carry tissues and hand soap sheets in my purse. The pay-to-pee toilets actually make sense because just like American public restrooms, the regular toilets, they're a gamble. You might walk into a perfectly fine gas station restroom, or you might step into a scene straight out of a horror movie. So yeah, I've come to accept that the European way is the way I like, and I appreciate the pay to pee model. So I want you to picture this. You're walking down a charming street and you stumble across a tiny bakery. It's got handwritten signs and a little old lady at the counter and the best smelling palmeras you've ever experienced in your life. This is an actual small business. Now, in the US, if someone says, I own a small business, there's a solid chance that they're talking about a franchise of some kind. And yes, technically it's independently owned, but it's still a part of this massive corporate chain. In Europe, especially in Spain, small businesses are actually independent. The bakery has been family run for 3 generations. Like the cafe isn't just a part of some larger network of some strategy. The bookstore down the street, yeah, it may not have a website, but the owner knows your name after a couple of visits. There's something that's really refreshing about that. My daughter, she really wanted me to talk about this one. Personal space norms in Spain and the US are very different. If you're introverted, adjusting to them can be a big cultural shock. In the States, there's a strict adherence to personal space. Cheek kisses are standard between family and friends here, even with new acquaintances in social settings. Men may also kiss female friends or relatives. Handshakes are more formal or for professional interactions. In the US, it's more about handshakes and brief hugs between friends. Cheek kisses, they're really rare. I mean, they can almost feel overly intimate. That's unless you're in a specific context. Frankly, Americans might feel startled by the immediacy of physical contact with strangers or even casual acquaintances. Here, declining a kiss can come off as a bit cold, so it's best to just go with it, in my opinion. And when you're done, you better get ready to talk close. And there might be some touching too. It was hard for me coming from a place where you usually stand 3 to 4 feet apart when you're in conversation. Touch me and you lose your fingers. There, I guarded my personal space more rigidly, especially with strangers. Americans may instinctively step backwards during conversations. I think I still do it sometimes. It probably reads as disinterest or aloofness, but sometimes habits do die hard. I still struggle with crowded public spaces, markets, bars, and public transit often involve a lot of close physical proximity, and Spaniards are generally unfazed by it. My daughter always complains about people suddenly shoving it in front of her at the grocery store. She's used to people asking or at least signaling with body language that they need you to move. Where I'm from, we like our personal bubbles in public. We definitely apologize for making accidental contact. And for a long time, I actually avoided crowded places as much as possible. Here, people don't really apologize for minor bumps or jostles. It might feel rude to Americans, but on a crowded train or bus, are apologies really that necessary? If you think driving in Spain is just like driving in the US, but with different road signs, you need to buckle up because your first roundabout will prove you absolutely wrong. So think about this. At a four-way stop, everyone stops first, and then they follow certain rules. First vehicle to stop at the intersection goes first. The vehicle on the right has the right of way. If cars are directly across from each other and arrive simultaneously, the car going straight or turning right has the right of way, while the other turning left must yield. This often turns into a you go, no, you go kind of situation because folks don't actually follow the rules. But here at a rotunda, the rules are very different. Traffic inside the roundabout always has the right of way. Incoming cars must yield. If entering, you have to wait for a gap. There's no taking turns like at a four-way stop. You merge when it's safe. If exiting soon, you stay in the right lane. Otherwise, stay in the inner lanes so that you can go further in the roundabout. Larger vehicles may get priority over you. Even if you technically have the right of way, giving them space is expected. I still have to get my driver's license here from the passenger seat. Rotundas are wild, especially when there's traffic. Based on feedback from my Facebook group on getting a driver's license here, the roundabout is where most people fail. That and crosswalks. In cities, pedestrians have the right of way. At least in theory, they often step confidently into the crosswalks, expecting the cars to stop, but in reality, some drivers brake at the last second, making street crossings a very interesting experience. Spanish drivers don't believe in personal space either. I noticed that there's a lot of tailgating at high speeds, and it's not because they're mad at you or because they want to be close. They're telling you to get over. This drives my husband nuts because he won't speed. Speaking of lanes, the left lane is strictly for passing. Sit there too long, you're going to get honks, you're going to get flashing lights, and maybe a few words if you're there extra long. Unlike in the US, where police cars are going to lurk behind the bush with their radar guns, Spain prefers this high-tech approach where speed cameras are everywhere and they're marked by these signs that say control de velocidad. You won't get pulled over, but check your mailbox in a week. That's when your ticket will come. Driving in Spain takes some adjusting, but once you get the hang of it, I think it's actually pretty smooth. At least that's what I'm telling myself. I can't use my international permit here anymore because I'm a resident, and I've been putting off preparing for my exams. I don't have an excuse for it. I'm just putting them off. One of my favorite things here is the sales tax, IVA. Imagine this, you walk into a store, you pick up an item that says $9.99, and when you get to the register, you actually pay $9.99. There was no mental math, no surprise fees. You just had to pay the exact amount on the price tag. It's shocking, I know. If you're American, you're used to doing that mental math to figure out the actual cost of things. The grocery store was always a mess for me to calculate because some items are taxed when others aren't. And then Orlando used to love doing a fraction of a percent. So here, when you see the price of something, that's what it will cost you because the tax is already in the price. Okay, let's talk about education, because if you're American, you'll grow up thinking that college will most likely equal debt, period. You accept it as a cost for a good life, and that's just how things work. Then you move to Europe and you find out that people are getting full-on degrees for the price of an American semester's worth of overpriced book. I mean, sure, tuition varies by country, but public universities in places like Spain or Germany or France can cost as little as a couple $1,000s per year. Some places are basically free, and you don't have to sell your kidney. I had another joke for this spot, but my daughter told me to take it out. Meanwhile, in the US, people are out here paying 6 figures for a degree in media studies while working 3 jobs and eating instant ramen like it's a food group. Actually, I love instant ramen with umami spices and an egg or two. And I'm not gonna lie, but my student loan may have me back on instant ramen. At least the eggs here aren't expensive like in the States. My income-driven student loan repayment renewal, on the bright side, I still have a few months to figure things out. I still owe 50,000 on my student loan that was for about 48,000. I've been making payments on the loan, but they're not big enough. So tell me, have you ever experienced culture shock in another country? Tell me your stories in the comments. And if you can do me a quick favor, watch this video next. Okay, bye.